it's my great pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Kimberly Rice. Kimberly is the President and Chief Strategist at KLA Marketing Associates. She's nationally recognized as one of the top leaders in law firm business development strategy and collaborates with lawyers and law firms of all sizes to guide them in building, growing, and sustaining a prosperous business. She writes extensively on marketing strategies and business generation efforts and can often be found leading educational sessions for groups of attorneys and firm administrators. We're very fortunate to have her on with us today as we explore this very important topic. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Kimberly.
Thank you so much, Victoria. It is such a pleasure and treat to work with you here and to be a part of our audience's day. And hopefully my goal is that everyone who's attending and listening today to our program walks away with at least a couple of nuggets of new information and tactics that they can immediately apply when they return back to their audience. So that is my measure of success, and I hope everyone will listen for those things in mind. And so what we would like to do today is to dive into the topic of generating client referrals, which is probably by far the greatest impact and best way to build a law practice and business. And so those are the topics that I'm going to cover today, and we're going to get started. So just to give you, just to reiterate, here's some names of the publications that I've authored. The book that's available on Amazon, Rainmaker Roadmap, a step-by-step guide to building a prosperous business, is truly a step-by-step guide to building a prosperous service business, which is available on Amazon. But these other resources can be found on our website, which is www.klamarketing.com. They're all free downloads. So if you have the need and interest to learn more as a business owner, I encourage you to check those resources out. So let me get started. We talk about developing client referrals, which is the cream of the cream of how to build a prosperous business. Oftentimes, and I've been working with law firms and lawyers for almost 30 years exclusively. So we've seen every type of practice across the country, every size firm that you can imagine. And one of the things that we know for sure is there's no real shortcut to compelling clients to give you referrals, except for the fact that you first must develop super satisfied clients. Because if we stand in the shoes of a consumer, as we all are, then we know that if we are content and satisfied with service that we receive, the likelihood that we are going to share that is substantially increased than whether we are not, if we're not satisfied. So the standard rule that we know in the service business is that you may be satisfied with some type of service that you receive and not say anything to anyone else. But if you're dissatisfied, you for sure are likely going to tell 10 individuals, friends, family, colleagues, etc. So my first point is that one of the first steps to develop super satisfied clients is that the economic based reason is that it costs 5 times more to develop new clients, to attract and retain new clients, than it does to nurture the existing ones. And so a question that sometimes our lawyers ask us is, we have clients, but they're kind of onesies or twosies, and, I don't really know if we'd want to have more of those. And so some of these exercises require some self-reflection in that, and taking a look at the book of business and clients that you have, is do you want more clients like you have right now? And so that's certainly a question you need to look at. And if you can if you have the quality of clients that you're satisfied, at least some, that increasing the client retention just as little as 5% can help you significantly increase your profits, anywhere from 25 to 95. I'd say 95 is on a pretty high end of that. But the point is that you want to identify the quote VIP clients, those clients that match and fulfill the parameters of the type of clients that you want to generate more of and to deliver the white glove service to, so you can nurture those to the point that they're super satisfied and they will be very happy and obliged to refer you to others. So that's just a thought process that really it starts with internal work on your part. So a lot of what we're going to talk about here in the next few minutes is making sure that you, as a practicing attorney, are showing up with the most productive mindset in your client service delivery. And when I say that, I mean that, are you truly focused on your client's success? Because we all have to make a living. We all want to, be successful. It's very competitive in the legal services landscape across the country. But we have run into plenty of clients who've said, I just want to make more money. My clients, there's people that I just tolerate. And we often say, well, you need to really evaluate your clients and what it is that you're doing for them. So we start from that point because of the work that's required on your part to not only become a discipline expert in your substantive area of law, but you must start out from the point of having your client's best interest. That really is an ethical requirement, because these other pieces that come subsequent to that depend on and rely upon your putting your client's interest really above your own. So one of the things that we ask is, how well do you know your clients? Do you know them beyond the work that you're presently doing for them? Because often we ask our law firm clients, what do you know about your clients? What are their particular pain points or their trigger points for your services? Who are their competitors? What are their SWOT? What is their SWOT? Which means their strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in their business. Now, for those attorneys and law firms who are business to consumer rather than business to business, these questions still apply in the sense that, if you are a family law attorney, the answer to these questions would be very different than if you were a corporate labor and employment attorney representing management. But my point is that it's imperative for you to understand your client base, your VIP clients, and what their pain points are, because it's only from that perspective that you're going to take the time and outline steps to help alleviate their problems or capitalize on opportunities. And this is all in the path to developing super satisfied clients. So this is, as I said, it's imperative to understand what their pain points are. And so the pain points for a consumer client, such as an estate and elder law client, are very different than a corporate client as a commercial real estate. And so one of the number one complaints, or one of the top complaints that is statistically driven by dissatisfied clients includes that the outside counsel does not understand to the extent necessary the clients, the in-house attorneys or the corporate client's business. So yes, you're a legal advisor. Yes, you have the substantive expertise that you deliver legal services to solve problems or capitalize on opportunities or to alleviate threats. But that, unfortunately, in this day and age, is not in and of itself enough. Over and over, we see studies and reports, and we hear this when we do client interviews, is that corporate clients, outside counsel really just does not understand the client's business, such that they can help, the outside counsel, can help the client stay abreast and ahead of potential threats that may jeopardize or take the client to be vulnerable in their competitive marketplace. So several things that we highly suggest is that you, the practicing attorney, must key in to your client's industry by doing several different things. And that was one of the reasons that I was asking, do you know the client's industry? Well, who are their competitors? If you don't know this, you must know this, because you cannot help satisfy or look ahead and take the high view of your client's threats and even opportunities if you don't understand their industry. So there's many ways to do this. There's several ways to do this. Number one, you have meetings, conversations with those clients to literally just learn and get up to speed on the industry. And this, of course, is off the clock, because you're investing in the relationship, because you care about their success, which goes back to what I said just a few moments ago. Number two, it's never been easier to get and stay informed about what's going on in your client's industry and company and business problems and issues. One quick solution is to create what's called a Google alert. Usually your legal assistant or a paralegal can help you set this up through Google, and that is to put in keywords like the industry or the company name to see what's going on in their industry, to see legislative changes, competitive reportings, etc. This all is in the effort to stay 2 steps ahead of what your client's issues are, so you can work your way into the relationship as a trusted advisor, something we're going to speak about a little bit more in a few minutes. And so you, as a trusted advisor, want to bring solutions to your clients that they may not even understand that they have a problem. So you're looking ahead for their benefit, to help them reach their business goals, and knowing what you know as far as from a legal perspective, that there's going to be problems or issues ahead. And so this is a way that you partner in a collaborative manner with your clients to help them be more of a real marketplace presence or a winning competitor in their space and industry. Very, very important. I speak about trusted advisor, and that is, I don't know if you've ever heard of the book called Trusted Advisor by internationally known management consultant David Maister, Maister. There's a whole book on this. It's phenomenal to get you in the mindset. But not only, we see lawyers, and it's no real criticism, but, it's so easy to get pigeonholed and somewhat myopic about getting a project done or doing a deal or delivering X to your client, and you're not looking at the higher level or the 30, you're not zooming out to the 30,000 foot view of how you can expand the relationship, maybe opportunities that you see that could exist for your clients that they may not even be aware of. So this is one way to develop super satisfied clients in total, is when you just go above and beyond what they're paying you at the moment to do. And so some of the things that I'm speaking about now are all steps you can take on a daily basis to be more mindful and intentional about developing super satisfied clients. And of course, at the end of this rainbow is developing these super satisfied clients, so when you ask for them to make a referral, then they're more than happy to do that based on the relationship that you've invested with them over time. So we talk about being a trusted advisor, and it's so imperative. This is a lot of mindset work. of placing the higher value of maintaining and growing and preserving the relationship than you are on the outcome of whether or not at the end of the day you're going to receive a client referral. And of course, all of this is important, but what is most important is the relationship. And so we want to think about, and you can make this into a very actionable item, and that is to call the client, to suggest some time together off the clock to learn what's going on in their business, what are their pain points, what keeps them up at night. I know that's a cliche question, but you can, of course, use your own voice. But one of the things that we see sometimes with law firms, particularly in the corporate law firms, is that you have your piece of the work and your area of expertise, and you may have colleagues have another piece of the work, and you don't have enough communication to deal with any opportunities as a team. So one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that it's for the good of the relationship. And, sometimes egos can get involved, and, no fault of anyone, but really, it's doing a self-assessment and reflection to make sure that you are exercising the emotional intelligence, that you can, be in a differential position to your client's ego and what's important to them. So these are all steps that you can take on your own and off the clock with your clients. One thing that we see that causes a lot of issues, and based on the latest reports from the Pew research as well as the ABA, is the number one reason that clients terminate their outside counsel is centered around communications issues. Number one is the lack of responsiveness. And so when we put ourselves in the shoes of a client, and we all are in some way, shape, or form, we know how inconvenient, annoying, and failing to deliver on the service that we would want when other service providers don't return our phone calls, or we don't have our questions asked in a timely manner. So part of this we found is developing systems with your staff, with your team, that you have a system of communicating and returning calls and responding to emails, and that or you let your clients know what that is. But even more importantly than that is understanding, and this is a direct ask to your clients, how do they want to be communicated with? This is so incredibly critical to the sustainability of your relationship, because people get fired over not responding or not responding in a timely manner. So if your clients, some clients don't mind being texted, great. Some people would rather just you pick up the phone and call them on a regular basis or at a certain time during the week. Sounds simple, but it wouldn't be the number one reason why lawyers are fired if there wasn't some tremendous validity in this issue that, well, I'm busy, I can't get back to them, they call me too often, so it's a matter of working out with your team, delegating who the first string is, etc. So speaking about communications, we also find that as human beings, bringing the human condition to our relationships, some of us struggle with practicing active listening. Most studies say that too many of us are not actually listening to who is speaking and who's speaking to you, but you're thinking about what you're going to say after that person stops speaking or there's a pause. And so I show this slide to you, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but the fact is there's a lot of noise in our daily world. We have to find a way to eliminate or at least reduce the amount of noise figuratively as well as literally to help us be able to focus more. One great simple little tip, and this is, you could do this like right now, is turning all sounds off of your iPhone or your Samsung phone, Galaxy, Android phone, because it's very distracting. And there's all kinds of research that's been done about what that does to our brain and how it pulls us off from being able to focus on the active communication, which is listening and speaking. But the various components of active listening is asking for more information, to clarify a person's point, asking these questions, to repeat back someone's message to make sure that you, in your own words, that you understand what they've spoken to you about, to reflect back as far as this is some emotions that kind of bubbled up, why the person was engaged in speaking with you, and then lastly to summarize. So I have whole programs on communication skills with developing communication skills with precision and clarity, and oftentimes we don't think about what's not being said, and so in the context of communicating effectively, with whether it's one-on-one or one-to-many in the courtroom or in the boardroom, 65% of how we communicate is non-verbally. So it's what's not being said that we have to be attentive to. The other 25, just for those who would be interested to know, 25% of how we communicate is through the use of our voice and the tones that we use, etc. And then only 10% are our words. So when you think about using electronic communications for the primary means of communicating, we've eliminated 90% of how we communicate because of the written nature of our communication. So that is something to consider when you're speaking to clients and you really want to be able to have their attention, is to perhaps have a face-to-face. So one of the ways, of course, that will immediately kill a relationship is over billing issues. We've all been there, but it is a real concern. So some of the ways that you can take steps to go back and develop these super satisfied clients that will lead to client referrals is really watching the integrity in your billing. Sometimes we know that the more information you provide, then they have a way of nitpicking it apart and they question the value. But if you can include, if you're doing an itemized invoice on a monthly or regular basis, include a few services, a phone call or a night out on dinner, and not bill it. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer, and because again, it's you investing in the relationship. But you can enter the time, put it on the invoice, and then put no charge or service discount or whatever. Clients hate to be nickel and dime for every single thing, and so you certainly, as practicing attorneys, many of whom bill on an hourly rate, a lot of clients really don't appreciate that you can build in a couple of emails into the project, so you can get a little creative that your clients will certainly appreciate. And then of course you want to focus on the results, not every billable second. That goes back to your client's success is your success. These are simple steps that you can take today to help develop and nurture these super satisfied client relationships, which will lead to generating client referrals. Also, is building in value-added services, value add. How often do you speak to your clients about what is important to them? How can I be of most value to you? The answers may surprise you. It may be something very simple that you had not even thought of beyond the actual project and the legal services that they've retained you for. What do they read? What are they reading for professional development? Where are they going? for professional development. Why is this important? Because you need to be there. You need to read what they are reading so you can be educated and stay abreast of what's going on in their business, in their industry, so you can think creatively of how there may be opportunities or threats or problems to be solved that will be in their best interest and to their firm or their long-term prosperity. And when you do these things on a regular basis and then you let it be known that you've done these things, now think about how that feels on the other end when you're on the receiving end. It engenders tremendous goodwill. It certainly underscores and reinforces the relationship that you truly care about this person who is your client beyond just getting a deal done. So this is interesting. Feedback. I thought that was a very amusing image that I found, which is, if you can't tell what it is, it's just a bunch of people having their heads buried in the sand. And the reason that I chose that is for my point number one. Naivete does not pay. So my firm has done scores and scores of client feedback, interviews and surveys. And one of the things that we always hear, 100% we hear, is how few of their service providers ever ask the question, how are we doing? That in and of itself, just asking the question, is a tremendous opportunity for you to nurture and build those relationships that you ultimately want to generate a client referral from, but also for long-term sustainability. Now, we sometimes get pushback because the lawyer's like, I don't want anybody talking to my clients and they won't really tell us the truth, or I'm not sure I want to know. Those are three very common responses we've received. But there's a whole industry of client interviewers where not you because of the closeness of the relationship, but folks like us or other professionals who have the polish and the professionalism and the industry knowledge to literally go to the client's workplace, ask the questions, and then you come back. You don't offer solutions, but you return back and talk to the responsible or the relationship partner, and perhaps you're going to learn something that you didn't know, which I promise you will. And it could be, well, we don't have all of your business, or the law firm doesn't have all the client's business because they never asked. Or, yeah, I really don't like working with XYZ and we're thinking about changing unless they get rid of this person. So it can be another very golden opportunity to further cultivate, nurture, and reinforce the relationship. And then, of course, thinking about the 80-20 rule is 80% of your business generally comes from 20% of your clients. And so you want to be very discerning who it is that you would invest in to really ask the feedback from. And there's ways to do that. But the concept is not knowing. Ignorance is bliss. It is not. Because any of us, when we are the consumer of professional services or services, if you're not happy with something and you've tried to mitigate or remediate whatever the issue is and it doesn't get resolved, what do you ultimately do? You stop using that service provider and you find someone else. So this is very important for making connections. So yes, you want to know your client's business. Yes, you want to understand how they want to communicate. Yes, you want to be able to spend time with them and understand what their pain points are, or what are concerns, goals, and struggles are, because you want to make sure that you can help them along the way, whether you specifically are helping them, someone within your firm, or you make a referral, you hook them up with a resource. But one of the sure ways to receive a client referral is my first point, and that is clients don't care how much you know until they see how much you care. There's no faking it. You've got to invest in the relationship. You have to help. You have to help them, which is basically helping you help me. And then asking them what is a good referral for them, because obviously Sometimes the implied is the reciprocity. So you give a client a referral because you care about their success. It makes it easier for you to ask for that referral back. So here it is. Drum roll, please. Finally, the ask. So you've done all these things that we've talked about, and you have shown your true interest. You are putting their success ahead of your own success. Of course, you're delivering extraordinary service. Of course, you're delivering wonderful work product. But when you get the relationship to the point where they know that you care, this takes time. You've invested in this relationship. At the right time, you can ask them, the client. If you know of other businesses similar to yours, or if you know of other individuals similar to you that may benefit from our services and or have similar needs as you, we would greatly appreciate you either giving us that information or sharing our information with them. That's probably how it'll work, because they don't want to kind of out their clients' contacts, their friends and family. But it's the right time. It's only after you have developed these super satisfied client relationships that is the quickest path, which I mean will be a yes, of receiving and generating these client referrals. We have law firm clients that we've worked with for years that have a whole silo of, for sure, client referrals. In fact, they're constantly asking our clients for more promotional materials that they can hand out on behalf of the law firm. I mean, how great is that? That's the highest impact. So when the time is right and the relationship has been built and you're getting good results for the client, or they know that you're doing your best, if the situation isn't particularly enviable to be in, then, you ask for a referral should there be others similar to them that have similar needs. One of the things along those lines that we find so frequently, I mean all the time, is clients don't realize the scope of services that their attorney, their relationship partner, is providing, or his or her firm provides. So if you're providing land use services, they may not know that you have in a whole full environmental practice, and they kind of go hand in hand. And so it's very, very important to educate your client so they can become a promoter for your firm and for your practice. And there's no better way than education. And along those lines, that's one of the reasons that you invite them to firm events. So they can meet other practitioners, because if you don't already do this, then I highly recommend the more areas of service that you can provide to a client, that helps to anchor and to cement the relationship. Of course, everybody has to perform, of course. But getting and staying top of mind, certainly providing promotional materials for them. It could be just a business card, it could be a little rack card or brochure, whatever you can provide to them that would make it easy and simple for them to refer you, is what you want to do. And so along those lines is the communications program or outreach that you want to have with those VIP clients that you want to refer you. And so a couple of examples of that is, are you connected on LinkedIn? That's very important. Or if you have a consumer client, do they like your firm or your company Facebook company page or your Twitter account? And there's all kinds of opinions on whether or not you need to have those. I can tell you unequivocally, you absolutely do if you want to grow and build your firm. and how you deal with that is how you populate that and you feed the Google machine with content is a different question, but that's one way to get and stay connected. Through periodic emails or e-blast or newsletters, some type of communications device. It can be a multitude of solutions. It's never been easier than today to get and stay connected with your clients electronically because of all the marketing technology that we have. I do remember a time, and perhaps some of you do as well, that there was no internet or we had no access to email or social media accounts. And so it was a little bit more challenging. You could send a letter, you could mail a newsletter, all of those ways. Those are just simple tools and tools in your toolkit to stay and get and stay top of mind, which is imperative given the competitive landscape that legal services is. And so I can't recommend that highly enough. But also, of course, if and when you receive client referrals, do you have a system to thank them for the referral? A lot of people say, well, yeah, I just send an email and thank them. Well, you need to evaluate the value of the referral. I mean, if it's going to be a substantial fee that it's going to be coming to you, then perhaps more than a thank you would be in order. Okay, I'll give them sports tickets. Well, do they like sports? So that goes back to understanding and learning what is important to your client. Of course, all this information can be housed in a CRM, which is a contact relationship management program. Somehow you need to keep track of it. Having your assistant or team member help you to nurture those relationships is very, very important. But my point is sometimes more than a thank you is in order. And so you really want to give them back something that they would find of value. And so that is generally some of the principles of how you generate client referrals. It starts with developing super satisfied clients. And so one of the things that we tell our clients all the time, and given our position in the marketplace, is that there really is no magic bullet. There really is no one way to develop super satisfied clients. I've provided you many, many ways, steps that you can take. But one of the things that we say in relation to this is, and this is the secret sauce that we talk so much about, it really is to build, grow, and sustain a prosperous service or business, legal services business, is the secret sauce to marketing success is the combination, the culmination of the consistent, persistent, massive amounts of action over a prolonged period of time, which means you need to evaluate the clients that are worthy, that you would want to have to refer you. If you don't have all of those and you need to, kind of shore up the quality of your clients, that's a plan to be developed. If you have a half a dozen or more, then you need to literally develop a plan on how to develop super satisfied clients of some of these steps that I've provided to you already. But then it's, creating specific concrete action steps, implementing them, usually with some help, because as a prosperous business, your primary focus should be to deliver extraordinary service and being the face of your firm. And so some of these things that I'm speaking about, like getting and staying in contact, understanding their needs, all of these things can be put into a action plan to happen on a regular basis. That is the consistency. Don't be naive to think that it happens overnight. So you identify the few clients or the clients that you want to focus on, being realistic of what that's going to require on your and or your team's behalf, and being persistent in making sure that you continue to deliver this extraordinary service in many of the ways that I've outlined. Let me just show you. Oh, again, is understanding, here it is, what is important to your clients, and understanding them and getting to know them and understanding their strengths and weaknesses and who their competitors are and what are their issues and problems, what are their goals and challenges. This is golden information, because once you understand that, that will inform you of what steps you can take going forward to help develop these super satisfied clients, so the time gets to an appropriate place where it's appropriate for you to ask for those referrals in a way that they're going to absolutely say yes. And so it's not a silver bullet. It doesn't happen overnight. But if you follow these steps that I've outlined that are very doable on a consistent basis, then you will have a pipeline of referrals from super satisfied clients. And it'll make your business and practice grow. You will certainly enjoy and find it much more fulfilling to practice, because you're kind of taking the mold and replicating it, or what we call its rinse and repeat. So I hope that is helpful, and we certainly want to take some questions now. So Victoria, if you want to open up the lines.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of you, please feel free to send over questions. You should just see on the control panel, there's a little Q&A, and you can type your questions right into that section there. We did have a few, Kimberly, and thank you for that information. It was all very helpful. And looking at this first question, what do I do if my clients decline to provide referrals?
Well, that's a very good question, because generally we find that lawyers don't want to ask because for a lot of number of reasons. They fear rejection. They fear that if their client declines, then that's a reflection on them and the temperament of the relationship, which it can be none of those things. So just like anything else, you have to ask. If you never ask, the answer is always no. But as a communicator that lawyers must be, they can, in a hypothetical situation, as I mentioned just a few moments ago, if they, saying to a client, we're actively growing our business. We're actively looking to, to grow our client base. And if you know of folks who have similar needs as you or your company, and you feel comfortable referring them to us, we would certainly appreciate. So that's kind of the soft, suggestive ask, which should make it very easy for a client to say yes or no, or normally people would say, well, I'll certainly keep that in mind. So it's not anything to get, quote, psyched out about, because it is a hypothetical, but you've planted the seed.
Great. And you talked about establishing communication preferences for clients early on. Do you typically recommend that firms include that as part of an intake form, or just during that initial consultation? What have you learned is the best practice with that?
Absolutely. Great question. And here's the number one thing. Because we have so much data coming at us all the time in so many different venues, emails, we're over the top of emails, text, all the different ways that people communicate with us. I would be an advocate of doing both. Definitely including it on the intake form. It's just a simple communication preference, have a box email, a box phone call, box text, and they can just check it. And then using that in the initial consultation once you've been retained to review. So I see that you prefer, email, to give that client an opportunity to expand and elaborate, that I usually answer most of my emails at 8 o'clock in the morning, at 5 o'clock at night. I'm not on email all day long, which is preferable for our brain processes. So you can find a little bit out more information just by confirming that with them, and that will elicit hopefully more information.
Okay, great. And in terms of gathering feedback, it looks like this participant wants to know what you think about sending a survey at the end or the conclusion of a matter.
I think it can be a fabulous way to not only invest in the relationship, because it sends the message that you care about what they think. It also demonstrates your concern and interest to know what they think, and that the fact that they would take the time to complete it. It also demonstrates the fact that you're always looking to improve your client service delivery methods, or primarily that would be. And so it can be dependent on the practice. I wouldn't send it out without having someone follow up, not the practicing attorney, so an assistant or a paralegal to follow up if it doesn't come right back. And then, of course, you want to position it in a very positive way to iterate and communicate that you care about what the client thinks. You want to be able to service and build the sustainability of the relationship, which is why you're eliciting their thoughts through the survey. But then lastly, lawyers usually are very, very concerned and cautious about asking the clients what their thoughts are about the service delivery, and or results, which is actually a different question, because they're afraid of their answers. Well, I'd have to say, and I think I made the point earlier, that you have to get outside your comfort zone, because the prospect or the fear of hearing something you don't like is not a reason enough not to do it. Because if clients are dissatisfied and you don't find this out, then you could very likely, or most likely, will lose the client. And so to answer your question, I think it's a great idea, but you have to position it in such a way that you, the lawyer, are optimizing that communication feedback tool.
Okay, great. And Kimberly, now what if clients are forbidden from providing referrals, as is the case with some governmental clients?
Yes, so clients who work for governmental agencies or public agencies typically have the non-fraternization policies. They have to remain or appear to remain totally neutral and not have preferential providers. And so, again, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. And oftentimes, the client may be able to kind of indirectly refer you by whomever that may need your services. They may be able to provide your name and contact information in the context of several service providers. So I've worked with these 3 law firms, and they've all done a good job. So it's not like the client is not actually referring you. They're just giving you a resource. So we've seen that done ethically, and that seems to meet the criteria of public entities and governmental agencies not directly giving referrals.
Okay, great. And we just had a question come in asking, can you talk a little bit about the delegation of communication and how non-attorney members of the team can follow up with clients without making the clients feel like they're being ignored by their legal counsel?
Absolutely. Again, as I said, the 2 top behaviors that a practicing attorney should focus on is delivering the extraordinary client service. So doing what you absolutely do best, and that is using your substantive legal knowledge and expertise in giving your clients the best results, the work product, advice, and counsel. No one but you, as a practicing attorney, can do that. As a non-practicing professional, I'm not a lawyer. I would never try to write a motion or a brief for a lawyer. However, from a non-lawyer perspective, as far as communication, this is part of building out a team. And as long as the client is aware of the team, and that would be a great opportunity to have some kind of meeting with lunch, some kind of meal so they can meet the team, that can break down barriers. So when the responsible attorney is not available, or quite frankly, it's the phone call or email is not worthy of your time, or it's not a good use of your time, because you know that your paralegal or your legal assistant can respond in a timely and realistic and reasonable manner back to the client, then that should absolutely happen. But again, it's relationship building. The client must be comfortable not only with you as the practicing lawyer and the responsible partner, but also with the rest of your team. And so that comes from relationship building, and they need to understand that the team's sole focus is to make sure that that client is receiving extraordinary service. And so if that means that the paralegal or the legal assistant or whomever, somebody that's not you, can get back to them quickly to satisfy their need and provide a response, then that should be able to happen. But you got to sow those relationship seeds before you just hand it off to somebody.
Great. And Kimberly, I had a question for you. It's from me. Actually, in talking with many attorneys over the years, and something that you spoke about that we are always saying is how important that top of mind presence is, and keeping in touch with clients, obviously during the legal matter, if it's just a one-time matter that you're helping them with, and beyond. And, we encounter hesitation at times from say a family law attorney who has said, I was helping my client through the darkest time in their lives, and we got a successful outcome, but I'm not quite sure how to stay top of mind and not seem too intrusive once that case has been resolved. And so what are your thoughts on that? Keeping in touch, and I guess not being too intrusive or stirring up emotions from what might have been a difficult time in the client's lives.
Phenomenal question, because we all have, family law, estate and elder law, personal injury, med mal, these that work with a consumer have very, very, very high emotional thresholds, because the lawyer and the lawyer's team may be working with them at some of the most vulnerable, most critical times in their lives. So absolutely, it requires kid gloves. And so, after the matter has been resolved, after the documents in the estate planning have been taken care of, and then you have estate administration, there's all kinds of things that kind of bubble up. But the best steps that a lawyer and his team, her team, can take is to show that they care. Just show, again, clients don't care how much you know until they see how much you care. Tons of ways to show how much you care. So for example, in a family law case, divorce, custody, or whatever, send something to that family, to that client, that would be of comfort to them, that shows that you've gone just a little bit above and beyond, just providing the services to help them get to the next part of their lives. After the work product's been delivered, after you've been paid, compensated for your time and service, you're leaving money on the table. You're leaving potential referrals on the table if you do not maintain contact and you keep that top of mind. Tons of ways to do it. Put them on an email list, maybe once a month, every quarter, whatever. You can segment those clients that you want to reach out to on some type of regular basis. Have a client appreciation event once or twice a year, and especially for corporate clients, you can have that have a networking be a component of that. You can have a tickler system that your legal assistants can reach out, say in a PI matter, med mal matter, to just check on clients, check to see how they're doing after 3, 6, 9 months after the estate administration or after they've buried a loved one. There's tons of ways. You can invite them to like your Facebook page. You can do videos. To speak directly to certain types of clients that you have up on the website and share on social media. So you can actually, have a junior attorney go visit clients. I mean, there is no shortage of ways to get and stay connected, because if in your mind, the practicing attorney's mind, if that client is transactional and the relationship ends when the matter ends, quite frankly, that's a very foolish way to try to grow a business, because as we've just spent the last hour talking, the best way to build and grow a practice, a prosperous practice, is through client referrals. And so you don't want to dim in their memory over time. So they're now part of the, lawyer club, that they're always part of your client family. So the more contact you can have, not less, and you're not going to hound them and you're not going to chase them down, but just periodically reach out in maybe multiple ways, different ways, because remember, we all are overwhelmed with communication on a daily basis. So if you reach out, say 4 or 5 times, 6 times in a quarter, they're going to probably remember only once or twice. And so some folks are so paranoid about, being too intrusive or pushy or bossy or whatever, that they don't reach out, because sometimes it goes into spam, etc. So I'm very passionate about that, because I see too many lawyers and law firms, not involve their team, and they think that they have to do it all, which is no way possible. Number 2, it's transactional. They don't keep up with the clients over time. And those law firms and lawyers who do that have astounding results. And that's how you get the client referrals faster, is getting and staying in contact with those inactive clients. Because in our mind, once a client, always a client.
Excellent. Okay, great. Well, I think that's all the questions for now, and I know we are just about up on time here. So all of you, thank you for joining us. And Kimberly, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
It's always my pleasure, Victoria. I hope it's helpful. And, I invite folks to check out our website at www.klamarketing.com, because you'll find tons of resources on every business building issue that you can imagine, free downloads and things on our website. So I pray that this was helpful today. It's always my pleasure.
Absolutely.